I don't care. I don't care if I'm German, African German, or something in between. I'm black, and this is happening to our black brothers and sisters right now. Guangzhou, China, April 2020. In the moment we are talking right now, black people are being thrown out of their apartments and forced to sleep under the bridge because they have no place to stay. Hotels don't accept them anymore. I'm crying. My heart is crying. And if someone wants to understand how sad I am, just see by yourself. No foreigners, especially no black people, are allowed anymore. Why? COVID-19 is not racist. Why are you being racist? Especially knowing that the outbreak of coronavirus started in Wuhan, China. You're treating Africans who were staying with you since the beginning of everything like they brought the sickness from Africa to spread it in China. Why? I saw a lot of images that made me cry. I couldn't stop myself from crying. Families, wives, kids being thrown out of their apartments they are legally renting in the middle of the night, just like this, having no place to stay.
Our landlord gave us an hour quick notice. Can you imagine? Only in China, that the landlord would just come, switch off your lights, and give you an hour quick notice to leave. When you have legal signed documents with him, you have.
And no exit ever. No exit. No exit. No exit. No exit. No exit. No exit. No exit.
Black people don't have access to medical health care. Black people are banned to enter food stores. No place to stay for a black person with an African passport. Here comes a story time of what I have seen with my own eyes. When I went to China last year, me and my family members checked in a hotel like you check in every other hotel in any country of this world. It was a simple thing. The receptionist was very friendly, always smiling at us. She showed us several rooms, asking us which one is the most convenient for us. So the service was very good, very pleasant, very nice. At the same time, we met a Nigerian mom who was supposed to check in at the same hotel as us. She came to China to see her son, who was currently studying in Beijing, or who's still studying in Beijing. So those of you who are international students probably know that kind of situation. Your family members come visit you in the country you're studying in, and they want to see as much as possible. So you're taking them everywhere around. So that mom wanted to check in a hotel, and because she was Nigerian, she couldn't. Hours after me and my family members, who are European citizens, checked in successfully, I saw her in the entry hall of the hotel. I came up to them, to her and her son, and asked them what's wrong, because they were sitting there with all their luggages. So she said, the reason why we're sitting here is because we couldn't check in, and now we are looking for another solution. I asked her, why couldn't you check in? And she said, because the receptionist, who was so friendly to us, said they cannot check in because they don't accept African Nigerian passports. So let me tell you one thing first. Let me tell you one thing. Do you know how many Chinese people live in Nigeria? There are over 50,000 Chinese people who are living in Nigeria, who have their homes in Nigeria. And I don't think that this situation would happen in Nigeria. I don't think that any Chinese person would experience this situation in Nigeria. Coming to a Nigerian hotel and the receptionist telling you, oh, sorry, we don't accept Chinese passports. No Chinese passports, please. And you know why? It is because Chinese people are being respected in Africa. They are being respected. But this is not a vice versa situation, because African people in China are not respected the same. Especially in Guangzhou, a city like Guangzhou, I made some researches, not to tell you something wrong. And the approximate number of Africans living in Guangzhou is 16,000. But permanently means that they got at least a permanent stay of 6 months is 16,000. 16,000 Africans, not just black Africans. Of these 60,000 people, there are at least 3,000 who stay longer than 6 months. But the other ones just stay at least 6 months and then go back to their countries. Another number says that there are around 300,000 Africans who travel to Guangzhou every year to do businesses. They do businesses and then they go back. They just buy things and then they go back. And do you know how many Chinese people live in Africa, spread it all over the continent? I give you 1 second. Yes, over 1 million Chinese people live spread it all over the African continent. They don't just come there, buy something, and then go back. They live there, they work there, they have their houses there, their kids there. They are resident in Africa. Over 1 million. And it seems like the city of Guangzhou is complaining about 60,000 people who stay at least 6 months, who earn their businesses and so led to the economic wealth of the environment. And the most surprising fact is that there are at least 50 million Chinese people who live spread it all over the world. 50 million. And I don't think that any one of them wants to be treated like this, especially not if they come to study, if they come for business, if they come to do a trip. You don't want to be treated like this. You don't. My brothers and sisters had to sleep under bridges. Families, kids, wives included, were being thrown out in the middle of the night, having no place to stay. Not even hotels are accepting them anymore. They're being thrown out of their apartments they're renting legally. If I would be staying in China right now, honestly, I would sleep with them under the bridge, because I couldn't cope with the fact that I would be treated differently because of my German citizenship. African American testimonies are saying that they have been treated different, not better, but different, in a different way. Instead of being thrown out just like this, they were receiving letters telling them, we are coming on this day to test you on COVID-19. This is not the same for our African brothers and sisters. Africans, black people having a passport of African nations, just like you can see.
On April 8th, a large number of African people in the southern Chinese city Guangzhou were driven out by their landlords and had to stay on the streets. Another video shows many Africans dragging their luggage aimlessly through the streets of Guangzhou. One of them says, "We are just walking on the road. They can't give us a house, they can't give us a hotel, and they cannot provide a place we can stay." It comes after all of the cases reported by Guangzhou authorities in April were reportedly related to African people. Chinese media have only reported about testing people from abroad. They haven't talked about testing locals, so we can't rule out the possibility that many of the locals are also infected, but it's not being reported.
Some of them have been thrown out of their apartments after being tested twice negatively on COVID-19. And in addition to this, after having to stay in a quarantine hotel for more than 40 days. I'm lucky that the discrimination to Africans in China due to COVID-19 is not the same in other parts of China. I didn't say it doesn't exist, I just said it's not the same. I can't imagine a landlord in Shanghai or Beijing doing the same thing, throwing you out because you're black or you have an African passport. I spoke too soon.
They didn't want me to enter the subway. I had even bought my ticket that was 4 yuan. And by the time I was going to the subway, they stopped me and then they told me that no foreigner is allowed. And I was like, why? This is a subway. They're saying, then they say that that is the rule. Then who am I to argue with the locals? I complied.
Same like I couldn't believe that something like this is seriously happening in Guangzhou, the chocolate city. And yes, this is the nickname Chinese people gave to this city because of the number of Africans living there. Thank you guys. This problem of discrimination and racism is something Black people are facing all over the world. Even in Africa, I can tell you that Africans have less rights than foreigners who come to Africa. Every time a Chinese person, an African person in Africa get in trouble, the Chinese person will be right. I saw a video that got viral a time ago. On this video, I was able to see a Chinese man hunting after an African holding a knife in his hands. Everybody was, afraid and didn't know how to react. The police was called, and you know what? The person who was holding a knife in his hands and was seriously about to hurt someone is the one who was right. The police, the Black police, said that the Chinese person has no fault. Can you believe that? That happened in Congo, and this is happening there every day. So, but this is not the fault of Chinese people. It's the fault of Africans being too kind, because as you can see, Africans are not treated the same in China. So yeah, back to the story of the Nigerian mom and her son who couldn't check in a hotel because of their African Nigerian passports. So I try to understand why. I try to understand if it's a common problem, if things like this happen more often, because it never got into my mind that something like this can actually happen. So I found out that there might be a Nigerian man who killed another Nigerian in a hotel near to that area. So due to that, a lot of hotels decided not to let Nigerian people check in, or not to let African people, or not to let Black people in general check in into their hotels. So it doesn't make any sense to you. I mean, Chinese people can also commit murder. Chinese people can also commit crimes. So it doesn't make any sense to ban all Chinese people from entering your hotels because you read that a Chinese person killed another Chinese person. Because you read that there's a Chinese person who kidnapped another person. Or because there's a Chinese person who robbed a grocery store, for example. Doesn't make any sense to say, okay, we ban Chinese people to enter our hotels. It doesn't make any sense. And the reason why I'm telling you this right now, I have to make it fast now because the sun is already going down. Yeah, as I told you, I met some researchers. I met a lot of researchers before filming this because I wanted to be sure about what I'm talking. And I found an interesting and sad case at the same time, about a Chinese boy, 13 years old, who murdered a 10-year-old girl. Before he murdered that girl, he sexually abused her. And wow, that case was so over-discussed because the authorities didn't know how to handle it. They didn't know what kind of punishment they should give to a 13-year-old boy because he didn't attain the legal age of being punished. So that was a big story in China. And I'm almost sure that there were no Chinese parents who would keep their kids away from each other, saying, okay, because there's a 13-year-old boy who murdered someone, a Chinese girl, you should not play together anymore. Boys, girls, and all other kids should stay as far from each other as possible. I don't think so. But that made me think about one thing. If it was a black kid who goes to a Chinese school who murdered a Chinese girl, I guess that a lot of Chinese parents would make everything possible so that their kids don't go to the same school as their black co-students, peoples. They would make it the best possible so that their kids who go to the same school as black, so they would make everything possible for their kids not to get in touch with black kids, because now every black kid would be seen as a potential murderer, because this is how the world goes. A black kid or a black person does someone, so every black person is like this. And the reason why I'm telling you that story is because we should stop stigmatization. We should stop stigmatization and start to treat each other as equal human beings in a civilized way. Stigmatization has none sense. And I really wonder if some of those people in Guangzhou who are doing this right now to my black brothers and sisters saw that hashtags going viral saying, I'm not a virus. How many discrimination and stigmatization have people faced who are Chinese or Chinese looking or East Asian? How many people discriminated them because the outbreak of coronavirus started in Wuhan? How many? And me personally, I always fought against this discrimination. My biggest circle of friends is Asian. And how many racist attacks did I receive because I'm friends with Asian people? Or how many people told me to be careful not to be friends with them, to be careful not to get close to them anymore because I'm running the risk of getting infected? How many times? And I always told back, saying they should stop with this kind of stigmatization because it is wrong. As I said before, previously, we shouldn't blame any ethnicity for the outbreak of this virus. It doesn't make any sense. Another black YouTuber, black brother, who posted something about the situation going on right now is Maya. His videos are very detailed, and I'm going to link you his video down below in the info box. Another very painful thing I saw, and it left me in tears, full of tears. I haven't been the same person after seeing this. Being pregnant,
No, that's it.
who doesn't have access to medical health care because she's black. She's pregnant and black, so she can't enter a hospital.
Waiting.
So sad.
Waiting 等着先，
So
等一下，
sad.
我问一下好。
So they want to say foreigners are not allowed in the hospital?
And the saddest thing about it is that she's not a single case. I saw an interview where someone said she knows several women who are in the same situation.
Regarde, regarde comme ils m'ont pris, regarde pas le masque, ma soeur, elle venait de se laver. Elle venait de se laver, elle est en peine. Elle est en peine, maman. Enlève ton truc là. Elle est en peine, regarde. Me fout un acteur, regarde-moi les sandales que j'ai sur les pieds. Hein? Regarde-moi les sandales que j'ai sur les pieds. C'est pas normal ce que les Chinois sont en train de nous faire vivre ici. En tout cas, que le gouvernement prenne des mesures, des mesures.
Pregnant, and they have no right to enter a hospital, to get some medical health care, to get a scan for the baby. They don't have. They don't. So me personally, seeing the pregnant woman was the saddest about all this story. Because she's pregnant, she needs help, but you refuse her to enter the hospital. The story about the Chinese man calling the police because he doesn't want to sit in the same bus as a black person. And the funny fact about that story is, the police came. 2020. I don't know what to say about this. This year has been a whole joke till now. And the situation is getting worse. It's not getting better. It just started. Like I said in the beginning. So the reason why I filmed this video is not to create hate between Chinese and Africans. Because I saw a lot of hatery comments in the internet saying, we hate Chinese people now. And I saw a lot of Chinese people saying, we hate Africans. So this is not the reason why I'm filming that video right now. The reason why I'm filming is to create awareness. It is to create awareness. People should be aware about what is happening in our world right now. People should know and be concerned, especially African governments who close their eyes. They don't want to see the situation going on right now. They don't want to see it. Everyone in higher positions in African governments just ignores it. They don't talk about it. I think some of them know, but they don't care. They don't care about the situation Africans are facing every day in Guangzhou. They don't care about it. So please, share that story. Tag anyone you know is in a higher position. Make that story get a lot of public attention so that a lot of people get to know about what is going on currently. So that a lot of people talk about it. Because if a lot of people talk about it, people in higher positions can't close their eyes anymore. They can't hide themselves anymore from what the reality is showing them. When a lot of people talk about it, when a lot of people are concerned about what is happening right now, they will not be able to hide themselves anymore, and they have to say something. Because there are a lot of African countries who don't even help their people outside there. Non-sub-Saharan African country sent their people in China and fly back to Africa. No sub-Saharan African country did that. There are still good people outside this world. My hero of the day, after seeing all this cruelty going on, all these painful things Africans are facing in Guangzhou, was the image of a Chinese lady carrying blankets to Africans who have been forced to sleep outside because they have been evicted of their homes they are legally renting, or because no hotels want them to check in. She was my hero of the day, and she made my heart warm again. So please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.
这里啊，中华县呢有感染的，
那感染了光隔离我们，为什么其他的人不隔离？
有啊，有啊，15楼已经全都要隔离啊，全部黑人隔离。全部黑人隔离，华人呢？白人呢？为什么你们不隔离他们呀？你们换位思考一下，我们中国同胞也有在国外的，
也有在非洲的。如果这个事情传出去，你想我们的同胞在那边会怎么样？你们没想过这个问题？
已经讲。
我知道哈，你们是按章办事，这个我很理解。
我们都是按照上级的要求来做的。